third one, he's alive again, for the stone is rolled away. He is alive again, for the stone is rolled away. He is alive again, he's no longer where he lay. He is alive again, I can hear the angels sing. Let all world rejoice. He's alive, sing he's alive. Oh, he's alive again, for the stone is rolled away. He's alive again, he's no longer where he lay. He's alive again, I can hear the angels sing. Let all world rejoice. Sing he's alive. Oh, he's alive again, for the stone is rolled away. He's alive again, he's no longer where he lay. He's alive again, I can hear the angels sing. Let all world rejoice. He's alive. Praise the name of Jesus. Praise the name of Jesus. Sing unto the King of Israel. Oh, praise the name of Jesus. Praise the name of Jesus. Sing unto the King of Israel. Oh, yes, in glory, glory to his name forever. Glory, glory, glory to his name. Praise, oh, praise the name of Jesus. Praise the name of Jesus. Sing unto the King of Israel. Oh, praise the name of Jesus. Praise the name of Jesus. Sing unto the King of Israel. Oh, yes, in glory. Hallelujah. Glory, glory to his name forever. Glory, glory, glory to his name. Thank you.
Could you please thank our wonderful guests? And if I try and get it right, it's Samuel here, and then we've got Stephanie and Kathy and Gordon and Ishmael. The Gatton Uniting Church sends their blessings with these singers that have come to join us today, so please make them feel really welcome. As it's Mission Sunday, we've gone old school, so there's no words for you to see and sing along with. It's a bit like when we go to Vanuatu, you've got to listen pretty carefully to the first bit, and then you catch on with the words and join in when you can. So that's what we have to do today. Also, I'd just like to mention that we'll have lunch provided after the service for those that want to stay around. You just got to give us time to fire up the barbecue. So that's all good. And also now I have some instructions for you before we go any further. On your tables and up on the screen, you should see the names of people that Whitcott Church supports or that we partner with. We'd like you and anyone that's watching at home just to pass on your encouragement to all of these people in whichever way you think best. You can write a little note to them, any of them, or you could draw a picture or something like that. And yeah, you'll get to see some of these people we'll be sharing with you today during the service. And all I ask is that if you do write a note to someone, that you just have a separate sheet of paper for each different person you write to, because Miley will collate them and we'll get them sent to different places for them. And yeah, if Jan has also mentioned to me in the past when she visited the Kailishly Children's Village in Zimbabwe, she said how much the kids treasured anything that was written to them. They had it just up near their beds, and yeah, they thought it was really special. So I just asked everyone if you can make a little bit of effort to do that for any of these people that we partner or sponsor. Now, this morning, I'd like Catherine, I think she was going to lead us in communion, if we can do that next. Samuel, I believe you guys are going to sing us another song now, if that's okay.
All right, we're gonna sing a worship song. Let us quieten our hearts and our minds before our Lord. To remember Him, His love, His mercy for each of us. Lord, I come to your holy place. Oh, standing on of your cleansing grace. Who am I that you would care for me? Oh, I glorify the one who died for me. Sing, Lord, I come. Lord, I come to your holy place. Oh, standing on of your cleansing grace. Who am I that you would care for me? Oh, I glorify the one who died. Sing, glorify, glorify, glorify. Oh, let your name be lifted up, glorified. Let the earth tremble at your name. Oh, let your name be lifted up and glorified. Sing into your hands, into your hands. I commit my life. Oh, day by day, as a living sacrifice. Who am I that you would care for me? Oh, I glorify the one who died. Sing, glorify, glorify, oh, glorify. Oh, let your name be lifted up and glorified. Let the earth tremble at your name. Oh, let your name be lifted up. Sing, glorify, glorify. Oh, yes, Jesus, glorify. Oh, let your name be lifted up and glorified. Let the earth tremble at your name. Oh, let your name be lifted up, glorified. Let your name be lifted up, glorified. Thank you.
Before you go, Samuel, you instructed me something yesterday about their songs. They have praise and worship songs, and he said is the praise where you're all joyous and like to sing loud, and the worship song, like you just did, was a bit more to listen and contemplate and be thankful for what God's done for us. Is that right? Yeah. So thanks so much for sharing that with us. Okay, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Peter Gibson. My wife Karen sitting down here, and I've sort of fallen into the job of mission coordinator for the church some years ago, and I didn't get back out of it. And our missions team is, the ladies some years ago came up with a name called Mission Possible Team, and I think that's pretty good. And I just invite anyone that is interested in missions to come along to our meeting and we'll take part in what we do. So I'll be honest in saying that this last year, with everything that's happened, we've not been a very active mission group. And I myself, I've had a couple of months where I've needed all my spare time to sort out my mother, getting her into a nursing home and relocated and that sort of stuff. So also today, it's a bit unfortunate that many of our missions team are presently away, and so that's just the way things worked out. But I'd just like to thank our leadership team for letting us have a missions day, because it's been a couple of years since we had one. And I'd just like to ask everyone a question rather than actually having a sermon as such or anything. I just thought maybe we should ask a question. And what is mission, and should we be involved with it? So I thought to start with, I'd look up the dictionary, and I found a dictionary and I looked up the word mission, and there's 11 meanings for it. I went, oh, okay. And the first one in the dictionary I found it says, any group of people delegated or sent to perform some specific task. And then going down all the meanings, I got to number 5, and it said, a group of missionaries authorised by a church to convert, teach, or aid the people of a foreign country or region. And of those 11 meanings, there was another 3 pertaining to religious mission. So that was a dictionary. And then I've just got a couple of references or Bible verses I'd like to read that might help us with that answer about what is mission and should we be involved. Back in Isaiah, in Isaiah 1, his vision's talking about Israel forgetting and rebelling against God. And God saying he's not happy, and especially with the people's insincere sacrifices. And then in verse 16 and 17 he says, wash and make yourselves clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Defend the oppressed. And take up the cause of the fatherless. And plead the case of the widow. And then the next verse I've got is from the New Testament in Matthew 25. And this is where he's talking about the final judgment of people, and he's comparing it to the separation of sheep and goats. And then the righteous ones are answering to him in verses 37 to 40. And then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And apparently over time there's been much discussion about the brothers and sisters that Jesus is referring to here. But I think that discussion's missing the point. It's not really too much to bother about who they are, but really what we do in response. And so what do we do? And then the last verse I'd like to look at was just when the Great Commission was mentioned in the end of Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 to 20. And I'll just read that out for you. Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. And when he saw them, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." And so from this, and Jesus' living example when he was here on this earth, I see two sides to our mission. The practical or physical side and the spiritual side. And quite often they overlap. Oh, one other thing, you bear with me. I was in Roma for Easter. Karen and I were visiting a relative, and I picked up a book. And it's a pretty old book because it's cost 25 shillings when it was printed. And it's a story about a husband and wife. And I'll just read the little start of it. "The End of a Beginning" is a story of 7 years of patrolling by one of the Australian Inland Mission padres and his wife. Their only home was the vehicle in which they travelled, and their parish was the northern third of Queensland, the forgotten top end of Australia. And you've got to think back, the book's pretty old, so his wife wrote it, and they patrolled, is what they called it, the AIM called it, and they went out to see people on their properties and spread the good news and try and do something for them. And you think back to 1950s, up near the Cape and the north of Queensland, it was pretty remote. And they'd just been married, left Sydney. Their first job was to go to Birdsville, where the local AIM hospital had burnt down, and they had the job to clear it and get it ready for reconstruction. So it's a very interesting book of where they've been, the trials and tribulations they had getting places, some of the jobs they were given around, and it's over a period of 7 years. And then summing up at the end of it, the lady says, "I've learned that all our worship and our preaching is in vain unless we serve those to whom we take our message." And I think that answers that pretty well. So here at the Whitcott Church, our Mission Possible team is to do with anything mission related outside of our local area. That can be in Australia or overseas. And each year the church itself puts aside funds for this purpose, and the backyard basement over past years has been matching that amount. Also, there are donations directed to missions, and over the years we've been fortunate to receive some very generous donations from outside our church, and also, of course, we have our own fundraising activities that we do. So, who and what have we supported this last year? Firstly, I'd like to start with our two sponsored children, who are both boys that we've been sponsoring for many years, and I probably shouldn't call them boys, they're more youth now. The first one is Kuda Washi Makwasha at Kailishly Children's Village in Zimbabwe. And I remember his name by saying Kodak washing machine. That reminds me what he's like, his name. He's just turned 17 the week before last, and you can send him birthday wishes on that note paper if you like. And we've got a video here now from Jan Christensen telling us about KVC because he went and visited over there a few years ago. So we'll just enjoy watching KVC. Oh yeah, that's Kuda and Jan up there too.
Hello everybody, it's good to be with you in spirit if not in body today. I think it's a very important day when we celebrate mission around the world with our church. I think it's one of the most important things that a church can do is to spread its love and its caring out to many people in many places. I'm here to talk about Zimbabwe. Churches of Christ have got about 3 different areas that they specialise in Zimbabwe. The first one is called Showers of Blessing, and that is where where a team of workers goes out and puts a bore in places where there's no water. So this using of the water can do great things for people. It changes their lives. It takes away the risks of cholera and dysentery. Women who've had to walk excuse me, all day to get a bucket of dirty water can now get a clean bucket of water without having to walk so far. Gives them time to do other things. Women were telling me with great rejoicing how their children were not getting as sick anymore because of the clean water. It's done other things as well. It has made people who are not Christians, or whole villages who are not Christians, come and say to Boniface, who's the leader of the work team, "Why are you doing this for us?" And then he tells them, "I'm doing it because God loves you, and that's the reason. Now I love him." So then they say, "We'd like to know more about this." He sends in a pastor. The pastor teaches them about God, and in many places a new church has been started because of that. So it's pretty thrilling to see. In other places a whole village has sprung up. They've had, they've built a store, they've built a school, they've done all kinds of things just because they now have clean water. They grow veggies and all sorts of things that they couldn't do before. So it's an exciting project. The second project that we do is Kailishly Children's Village, when children who have no means of support in any other way can come and be cared for there. Many of the children have come in off the streets and all kinds of things like that, and it has been wonderful to see the change in many of them as they've found a secure and a better place for them. They have had no problems with COVID because they have been in lockdown practically for the whole year. We also have a thing where we supply pastors with motorbikes because they usually have about 7 churches that they work with, and some of these churches are not close. So it saves a pastor an awful lot of time if he doesn't have to walk. Instead, he can ride his bike. On the other hand, one of the pastors that really impacted me when I was over there in Zimbabwe was a man with one arm. And he couldn't ride a motorbike because with one arm it's a bit hard to keep everything going the way it should on the rough and bumpy roads. So he walks everywhere, and it might take him hours to get to one village. He has about 7 churches that he operates, and he is the most joyful man I have ever seen in my life. His face just beams the love of Christ. And so we can be thankful that there's men like him who are working with the church in Zimbabwe. So it's a great thing to support. If you feel like you would like to support them, then I'm happy to help you do that. Or you could support a child, you could support Showers of Blessing, or any of these projects that we have running. So thank you for listening. Goodbye. Hello everybody, it's good to be with you in spirit if not in body today. I think it's a very important day.
Video just goes around if you don't stop it.
Around the world with our church. I think it's one of the most important things that a church can do, is to spread its love and its caring out to many people in many places. I'm here to talk about Zimbabwe, Churches of Christ.
Okay. The next thing, I've done a grave error before. When I introduced everyone, I called George Gordon. So I'm sorry about that, George. The next one I'd like to talk about is the other boy we sponsor is Rupesh Pund, and he's at the Children's Welfare Centre in Nepal. Rupesh, he's not actually an orphan, but both his parents are blind, so his local village asked the CWC to look after him and provide for his education. He's about 14 years old, and this last year with the COVID, a lot of the children were sent back to their villages, but they've all been returned to the CWC safe. They're all okay. And here's a short video from Rupesh. It was taken last year sometime. Okay, I'll just, so after a short message from Rupesh, the next one we'll have after that will be from a guy from MAF, and this fellow was introduced to, and the family was introduced to us some years ago by Gibson.
Namaste, Victor. I'm fine here. I hope you are also fine here. My final exam is finished. I did well. My hobby is football player. And thank you for supporting me and CWC family. Thank you.
Thanks, Jada. Yeah, as I was saying, the next guy that we've got that we sponsor is Mark and Jodie Simmons, their family. They've been serving with MAF, which is Missionary Aviation Fellowship, for many years, and we've been giving them some support since they were in South Sudan some years, and now they're up in Arnhem Land in Australia. And here's a message from Mark.
G'day friends, it's great to be able to have the opportunity to share with you how things have been going. Who would have thought that at the beginning of 2020 we would have gone through all the things with COVID? Maybe you've learnt a new skill, maybe you've just got to know the members of your family better. Maybe it's been an opportunity to spend more time in reflection. This year I've had a verse that's been running through my head, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. And therefore, since we are surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. This year has been one not just of working out what is important in life, but also to get rid of those extra things that we don't really need. Maybe it's been that time of resting. Maybe it's been resetting our priorities. It's easy to lose focus and direction when we take our eyes off what it is that we should be aiming at. Here the writer of Hebrews is using an analogy of a race where you wouldn't run a race with additional things to weigh you down. In aviation, we are used to this analogy. We have enough fuel for the trip, but not too much that would take away from our payload. Or we don't carry unnecessary items because that is extra weight. When it comes to our instruments, we have a critical one. It's called the attitude indicator. This instrument tells you when you're flying straight and level. Without it, you're not allowed to fly. One of the greatest risks to flying is the weather, and here in remote East Arnhem Land, in the build-up and the wet season, it is a serious hazard to contend with. Not just the heat, but also the clouds and the storms. When flying in the clouds of very limited visibility, your mind and body plays tricks on you. Like a roller coaster ride, you think you're up when you're down and down when you're up, and it's because our bodies take time to catch up with what's happening. In flight, you think you need to go down when you really need to go up. It can be disastrous. So we have our instruments to help us fly straight and level. In Hebrews 2, we read how As Christians, we are to fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. There are many distractions and things to worry about for a pilot. The instruments, weather, other aircraft, airstrip conditions, passengers throwing up in the back, or conditions of a patient in a medical transfer. But one thing they need to keep their view on all the time is their attitude indicator and ensure the aircraft is in the correct position for that phase of flight. It's the same for us here in East Arnhem. We have many responsibilities, and this year Jodie has continued in her studies and has gained valuable teaching experience. Hannah Rose and Joel have continued swimming, so we've been managing the club and trying to be a light to the community. Hannah Rose has begun Navy Cadets, and Joel futsal and I, Mark, have been helping with coaching Joel's team. We've been able to continue to support iAfrica through Skype calls and finances for the boys' home to be completed. For MAF, I was able to complete my Australian training and successfully passed my CASA interview and took on the appointment of Quality and Safety Manager for all the Australian registered aircraft, which we operate in Mariba, Arnhem, Timor-Leste, and hopefully in the next couple of months, Myanmar. For the program in Arnhem, we have completed a resizing and refocused our attention on church, health and educational flights to remote communities. We have faced a number of difficulties this year, but in both the achievements and the trials, we have been reminded that God has called us to be here, and where He has called us, He enables us and walks with us. So what are your distractions? What takes your eyes away from Jesus? What extra baggage is weighing you down and holding you back from what God is calling you to? Let us encourage one another today to throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us fix our eyes on Jesus.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's so true. It's hard to stay focused, and I know myself. Yeah, all those distractions. We also have another amazing lady in our church, Tracy Bailey. She's been running Operation Christmas Child here in Whitcott, well, forever, but not quite forever. And I just think about how many children have been touched because Tracy has taken it on herself to organise this. Here's a message of what a shoebox can do. We think about the shoebox as just the gift and the children receiving that, and then they hear the story. But this is what can multiply, and the video is called A Gift Multiplies.
Ke rata go tshameka bolo la ditsala tsa ke rata ga ke amogetse Christmas shoebox mme ne go na le dilo tse dintsi mo teng ke bone teddy bear e yeo fa ke amogela box ya me ba mpoletse ka ga Jesu ba le ba mpolela gore Jesus is the Son of God. Mme morago ga moo ke ne ka tsaya tshwetso. The Lord will bless somebody today. The Lord will bless somebody today. Ke bidwa laone ke dingwaga tse 12. Ke tsena sekolo le ene re nnela sente re itumetse. John 3 verse 16. God so loved the world. Charahatso mo tlaseng tsholofelo e ema mo tlaseng a ba balla bana ba bangwe ba ebile. Will not die, but will have eternal life. O rata go bua ka Modimo. Ke rata go share Jesu le ditsala tsa mo tlaseng. Ebile gape ke ba baile Bible. But no one asked. Just then Jesus' disciples. Umpolele gore ke tlhodilwe ke Modimo. Ha etsa go mpolela ka Jesu. ne ka bula pelo a mme go Jesu. Bangwe ba ditsala tsa me ba amogetse Jesu ka gore ne ke ba balla Baebele.
Re neela gompieno sejo sa rona sa letsatsi.
Ke rata go rapela le ditsala tsa me.
Ke a ba bolelela gore le bone ba tle ba sekologe mo Modimong. Le thata le kgalalela ga o sena bokhutlo. Amen.
My life has changed since Tolofelo came to me and said John 3 verse 16. That is the verse that opened my heart. I want to thank Tolofelo for being my best friend and sharing Jesus' scripture with me.
Ke a leboga thata gore le ditsala tsa me di iponatse Jesu. Ke lebogela Christmas shoebox fela thata.
I've watched that video a few times, and I just realised then, the girls were saying, when the teacher leaves the room, what happens here when the teacher leaves the room? All hell breaks loose, doesn't it? And she said she gets up and reads the Bible, and I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? So, yeah, that's really good. And just imagine all those thousands of shoeboxes that get sent out around the world if one child shared that news with a couple of others. Yeah. It's really amazing. We've also given some support to the Bible Society and disaster relief via GMP or Samaritan's Purse. For example, the Australian bushfires, the Ambae volcano in Vanuatu, Cyclone Harold, and the Lebanon explosion. A large part of our mission is church partnership with our Churches of Christ in Central Pentecost, Vanuatu. We continue to support the area pastor, Edwin Tarby, who is also president of the Churches of Christ board over there. I feel our greatest achievement with our partnership here is not in any help we may provide them to our partners, but more the effect it has on the individual when you... Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, it just does have a big effect when you go and share with these people. So far from Withcott Church, there's been 27 different people visit our partners over in Pentecost. And that was since our first visit back in 2011. Now, I've got a little bit of news. You'll have to put up with me for a couple of minutes from Central Pentecost. Okay, the Church of Christ board there, and there's the board over about 8 to 11 churches that are in the area that we visit. The chairman is elected now as Pastor Edwin Tarby. The secretary's Elder Maury Tarby, that's Principal Sharon's father. Treasurer is Kevin, and the vice treasurer is Benjamin. I'll go through this pretty fast because some of it won't mean much to you that haven't been over there and don't know the people. The church board has been busy having blocks made for the ablutions for their guest house. The blocks are made one by one in a mould, and then they also purchased a 1,000-litre water tank, and they plan to connect that to a flush toilet. It'll probably be the only flush toilet in Widgeonwell, or maybe even all of Central Pentecost, but they think it's going to be a really big thing. And those that have been there will know what I'm talking about. Okay, Torley School is growing. It now has 201 students with 49 in preschool. And this year there were 3 kindy teachers. Churches of Christ Ranwaddy College, which is down the valley, sort of outside of our area, on the coast, it has a new principal. And also Pastor Richie, that's from Ridgeonwell, he married Pastor Paul's daughter, is now the chaplain down at Ranwaddy. Arthur Tarby, but a lot of us would know from Central Pentecost, is now the handyman down there as well. And their chapel has finally been repaired earlier in the year with some of the funds coming from GMP via the Churches of Christ Conference in Vanuatu. because there's been so much damage done to some of those islands from Tropical Cyclone Harold. And I'm not sure whether that one went over to the Solomons as well. That was just over a year ago. Okay, Jonah, that we know was on the church board, he's the guy that likes biscuits. Every time you get together with him, he's usually got a packet of biscuits there. He's built his new little chapel, and also Pastor Edwin's church at Langer is still to be rebuilt. And Widgeon World Church, would you believe it, finally at last they're employing their own local pastor, and that's Barnabas. The churches are running their combined services again, so every month all the churches come together and have a combined service, something I think we could learn from. So Christmas was held at Enna and New Year at Lerravinen. Matthew has had a church crusade to raise funds for musical instruments for his small church up at Level Catbar, and I think that's the top one on the left, on the top of them. It's actually on the top of a mountain. It's really beautiful up there. In December, they held a Thanksgiving service for the Ledung Civi Health Centre to raise funds for building recovery after the damage from Tropical Cyclone Harold. They've also told me that of one case of COVID in Vanuatu, which was a returning Mormon from a trip after a visit to America. So that's the only one I know of. Our partners, they've been very concerned this year with COVID, and more so for us. And whenever I talk to them, or they write to us, they're always asking if anyone here at Whitcott has been affected. Because earlier on in the year I did share some of the statistics with what was going on around the world, and they were really worried about us. Vanuatu Churches of Christ National Conference will be held in May this year at Santo, and the Central Pentecost churches are always also having a big celebration, and this is a new one to me. And it's on the 24th of May. It's commemorating the 40th anniversary of a great revival which happened over there in Central Pentecost. In Pastor Edwin's words, at that time God worked and there was a big resurgence in Christianity there. Sick people were healed. And Pastor Edwin said his mother, who had had cancer of the womb, was healed at that time. And she's still alive today. The CWF ladies, that's a Christian Women's Fellowship. Since Cyclone Harold, they've been fundraising by selling a lot of their produce they were growing. They were growing a lot of vegetables and stuff that grew quickly, so they were able to sell that for a small vatu, and they've been putting that to purchase roofing materials to build their new meeting house. And I think that's the picture on the bottom right of that's the foundations of their meeting house they're looking down on, and that gives you an idea of those blocks. They're all made one by one. I would think that church board guest house and the CWF meeting house should be completed by the next time we visit, so that will be a big thing. Maury Tarby wrote to us last year asking for second-hand Bibles once again, so hopefully this year we'll have time later on to put a big shipment together to send goods over to Central Pentecost. And lastly, Torley School has purchased new batteries for their small 24-volt solar system. The lights, printer, projector and teachers' laptops can work in the main building again without having to run a generator every time and be expensive for the school in fuel costs. We'd provided the inverter and solar controller for this back in 2018, so that gives you an idea of island time. It takes a while for things to happen. Okay, so that's our news for over there. Now, another lady I'd like to mention is Bianca Jensen. Bianca went over to Recife, I don't really know how to say it, in Brazil in 2019 to take part in a discipleship training school with YWAM. Is that right, Mitchell? Yep, Recife. And early last year, Bianca decided to stay over in Brazil as part of the staff at YWAM and also working with children in their shelter houses. We've given Bianca some support and are now providing monthly funds for food parcels or food shopping as an outreach for her and the team to share God's love with the needy families in the communities. So I think we're going to do a trip over to Brazil now, and then we'll have a video from Bianca. Thanks. So that's the place where Bianca is currently right now.
Jesus, remember. And though I'm going in circles, around and around I go, yes, I'm going in circles, always taking the same road, oh, I'm going in circles, around and around I go, yes, I'm going in circles. Where I've already been, oh, but I don't wanna go, no, I don't wanna go, yes, I don't wanna go.
Assim como a costa anseia por águas, como terra seca precisa da chuva, meu coração tem sede de ti.
É ele falando, em verdade vos digo para você.
He's saying, in truth, I tell you.
Então, qual é a palavra que o Senhor te deu que você esqueceu?
So what is the word that the Lord gave you that you forgot?
Porque o Senhor esta noite está querendo nos lembrar isso.
Because tonight He wants to remind us of this.
Hey guys, so I just wanted to take this opportunity, so we're halfway through the video now, so bear with me, it's almost done, but it changes a little bit. So this first half I've just tried to show you kind of different ministries and life at the base, and then unfortunately I would have loved to be able to show you way more of our ministry work, but unfortunately we went into lockdown as I started to film this video, and so a lot of our ministries are actually on hold until the COVID situation just gets a little bit better again. And so some of our ministries haven't even resumed from last year, such as our street ministry with the kids. And so I would have loved to be able to show you things from that, or even from our soccer project, but unfortunately they're just not happening at the moment. And I would have also loved to show you more of my work in our shelter houses, but due to like our legal requirements and safety of the kids, there's a lot that I can't show. But I hope that you just got a small glimpse into what it looks like for me here. And then this next part of the video, I've just tried to show you some of the differences in life, little things like the kitchen or food. And I would have actually, like now I think about this, like to show you more of this as well, but for me so much of it is just normal now. I didn't even think about the small things such as the hot shower heads, the electric shower heads for our hot showers, or like the way we do the roofs and things here. And so I have also included a little tour of the base so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like where I live. But yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed this part and you enjoy the next, and I thank you so much for your continued support for my ministry here. and your prayers, and I just ask that you continue to pray for my work with the kids and on the bass, and for like the safety of all of us as well. Yeah, I love you guys.
Welcome to my house. I'm currently in my kitchen. I'm making dinner. I just thought I'd give you a little tour of the kitchen. It's quite different to what you would typically see in a kitchen in Australia, but here this is quite normal. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, there's not like much to it, and so this is pretty typical, is that you just have the sink and the stove, and then some kind of like storage unit, and then depending on the size of your kitchen, maybe a table. If not, you'll have a table somewhere else. But yeah, so this is basic kitchen, Brazilian style. Hot dogs, and I thought I would just show you what it looks like here because it's a little different. So we over here have the things. So we have in here hot dogs and then ground beef, and so this is like commonly with this, and then also mashed potatoes. And so you put it all on your hot dog, just like that. Hot dog, mashed potato, ground beef. I have ketchup and mayonnaise on mine. And then sometimes people put like corn or like little, like those french fry chips, like those type of things. But it's great. It's different, but I like it.
So we're down here at the bottom of our base, and this is Hope House, our boys' shelter house here at the base. So I actually live upstairs, and then downstairs is where our boys live. Jesus, break this cycle of never-ending lies. Oh Jesus, break this cycle of pain. So here we are at our apartment building. So this is our staff housing. Oh Jesus, break. So now I'm going to take you up and show you the main part of our base where a lot of our activities happen. So behind me is the barbecue place, so let's head up there. The barbecue place, and as you can see, this is actually the barbecue, so it's a little bit different to what it looks like in Australia. I always think it's a pizza oven, but this is what we cook our meat. So here we have our swimming pool. This is a great place to come, relax on the weekends or after work. So here, because it's always hot, we can swim all around here, and I absolutely love that. Oh, Jesus. So here is our main house. So in this house we have our kitchen and the hospitality area for guests to stay. This is where our students eat their lunch, and some of our staff will join them as well. Here is our kitchen at the moment. Some of our DTS students are cooking dinner. And then here is our hospitality department. So this is where I spend a lot of my time now working, as I'm overseeing hospitality. So we have some rooms for our guest teachers to stay in, a kitchen and things to make food for them. So yeah, just like a little house. Let's go see the door. So here we are inside of our office building, and so here we have reception, which is where we are, with this really cool world map wall. And so here's just where people work in like finances and the admin side of running our base. So we're coming to pay like our internet and our base fees and things like that. Yeah, you can see behind me we have our student dorms, which is where the students for our discipleship training school stay, and then sometimes we have other schools as well. And then on this side here we have some staff housing, and then also we're about to open up a coffee shop, which is out the front. So I'm really excited that it's actually really good. One of our soccer fields, this is our first one, and so this is where our soccer project happens, and so the kids will come and they train here, and then behind me we have some more staff housing for some of our married. And then over here we have our training centre, which is still being built, but we use this for as at the moment. They're about to have dance practice for the DTS. It's part of their school as they learn different dances. And then we have our classrooms. Okay, so this is our chapel. So this is one of my most favourite places of our base. So it's not that big, we probably need something bigger, but I love it. Here we have our prayer times, we have worship times, we have our Tuesday night services. I come here for worship meetings, and it's just a place that I absolutely love here.
of our base. So our base is on a hill, and this, it doesn't look very steep from up here, but this hill we walk up and down all the time, and it's so steep and so difficult, and we all kind of dread the thing. We really have to go down today. You can see our apartment buildings over there, and then this is our training house where our second level schools happen. So this tree just here is a cashew tree, which is a cashew tree. So during the season we actually get cashew fruit growing, and we use that to make a juice. We don't really eat the cashew nut. And then this tree here is a Cashew tree, which is this little yellow fruit that we don't have a name for in English. I don't like it, it's not sweet.
It is.
We make juice with it, but I'm not really a fan.
You ate it in the wrong way. Try it again.
Here is our girls' shelter house, just as Sarah or Sarah's house.
A ler a Bíblia. Porque eu quero guardar no meu coração. Porque eu quero crescer e sempre estar aprendendo sobre a tua palavra. Então nos ajude. Desde agora. Para todo sempre. Amém.
So how was that? Yeah, that's good. I probably should just explain with Bianca's video. I wrote to her a month or so ago and asked her, I said, last time you did a message for us, but how about this time you actually show us around and see, so we can all get to see what it's like over there. And I just thought that appealed to me, so I hope it appealed to you guys too. Yeah, so... And unfortunately with that, I didn't realise that they'd gone into lockdown, so she couldn't really go outside, because I zoomed in on that Google Earth that first time and I saw this big base and a swimming pool and multi-storey building. I thought, wow, this is flash. But then when you got down to Street View and started going around the streets, you go, oh, it's not so flash in some places. Okay. Yeah, so lastly, we now have a family who I'm sure you're all familiar with, Lachlan, Tiffany and now Caleb. Brothers serving with OM in Albania. When they shared with us last, a booklet was left here outlining the history of Christianity in Albania from OM. And it says Paul most likely preached in Albania and introduced Christianity there, but later they were subject to, I think, 500 years of Ottoman rule and then the introduction of Islam. Christianity was tolerated until after World War II, when the communist governments didn't allow any churches of any religion. Just imagine that, no religious churches at all in the country. And the Bible was banned, all religious gatherings were banned. Now, it wasn't until 1990, I believe, that some of these bans were lifted. So you can see what sort of country it was. And so you start to realise, I think, how important their work is over there. So, yeah. If we could just have Lachlan, I think he's going to have a bit of a presentation for us.
I don't know about presentation. Yeah, thank you for coming. We brought pictures this time, finally, of some of the places that we stayed. That's the office where we first stayed in our first house as well. But I'm not going to do that because Tiff's put some captions on there. Yeah, I just wanted to start by thanking you guys for having us here again. It's really great to be a part of a community that supports so much. I love the heart for missions in this church. It's an honour to be a part of that. So we have also an announcement. We have booked flights to return for next Saturday, the Saturday coming, so that's only 6-7 days or something now. We'll be heading back. And when we do go back, our roles are involved in sort of supporting churches and supporting OM to go and reach others and to do that work, as you said, Peter. So I'll be doing a little bit of finance stuff, which not what I enjoy, but I seem to be good at. And what my heart is really excited for is I'll be doing some kind of missions discipleship trainings. Not on the scale that Bianca is doing, which is awesome. I'll be just kind of going into churches and doing these 7-week programs, hopefully, trying to stir people's hearts to engage with their church and get involved in ministries, or see the potential that they have in their workplace, or just try and open people's eyes to some of the things they could be doing, is what I'm really excited to be doing when we get back. And Tiffany will be working hard, just as she is here, to support people that are coming to Albania to join us. But she'll be able to do that with even greater capacity, which is awesome. We're really excited. Tiff's really keen to get back so that she can really embrace her role more than what she has here, and what she can here. I think last time we were here, we said we still need to raise about $1,000 a month. By God's grace, that's only about $450 a month now that we need to raise. And our donors come from now 4 countries. There's a family in Finland. There are a handful of people in a country called the Faroe Islands, and some people in Germany who are all supporting us, as well as, of course, our family here in Australia. But it would be good, I think, to be a bit more transparent than we were last time about where that money goes. So it obviously goes towards stuff like our rent and our allowance, that sort of thing. That's better. It also goes towards the flights for us to come home. There's admin fees that OM Australia and OM Albania get. The international bank that OM internationally uses, they take about 3%, I think. So most of it, I think, somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 goes towards supporting us. So that's the admin fees, but also stuff like money put aside for trainings and retreats, money that's put aside by OM Australia for when we come back, so that we can pay bond for a place to stay and that kind of thing. So we don't have to rely just on whatever savings we can put aside while we're there. There's also, I've lost it. I've gone completely blank. I'm sorry. There are other things like that that it goes towards, and I can't think of any of them. But yeah, if you'd like to come and ask more questions about what kind of support we get from OM, and that's built into our support figure, you're more than welcome to ask us. Hopefully, with Tiff by my side, I'll remember a lot more. She's responsible for telling people what they need to raise as well, so she'll remember better than me. But seeing as I didn't have much to say, I thought I might share some more with you about what goes on in Albania that OM is doing, just so you can see that we're not the only ones in need and that we're not just here for ourselves, I guess. But there are ministries such as the Rome Gypsy Ministry. They've just moved. They're going through a quite tumultuous period as they move to a new city. They're trying to find a new place to work. They're trying to work out where is the best place to work to work with different churches and stuff like that. And our church planting ministry has really taken off in this last year. It's been really awesome to see. We have had a whole bunch of people join that ministry, and yeah, we did just have a evangelistic sewing course, which has been going for like 19 years, and it has been a huge testament to God's faithfulness in that country. But yeah, now we have a couple that are doing a kids group there, and a bunch of other Bible study kind of things in some villages, and I think we have a group that are coming to expand that sewing course. But yeah, the ministry I'm really excited about, and we haven't quite worked out how we're going to do it, is a kind of a coffee cart ministry. So we've built a coffee cart that's quite portable. It's got wheels. We can put it in a van, take it places. We're really looking forward to using that for short-term missions, but also taking to churches and simply encouraging people's faith as well. Yeah, there's plenty more I can share with you guys, but for now I just want to thank you guys for having us up and having us and making us part of the family here at Withcott. Yeah, we miss you guys every time we go, and that's about to happen all over again, so yeah, thank you very much for having us.
before you go, Lachlan, I want to hear something in Albanian because because I know Bianca said with her Portuguese over there, it's a big thing, the language, to try and master it or learn it and be able to converse with people easily. And you imagine getting up in front of a church or running a group session with people, and it's all in a language that you didn't know a couple of years ago. And yeah, to me that's pretty amazing. And I know what it's like just to try and learn a bit of Bismarck for Vanuatu. It's, you learn a few words, but then you try and put it together. It's not real easy, not for this old fella anyway. So can you tell us something give us a message or just something nice to finish off with?
Absolutist. That's how you say absolutely. Ne kemi mësuar shumë gjëra në Shqipëri. Kemi mësuar për të folur në Shqip, kemi mësuar si të ndajmë ungjillin edhe besimin ton me të tjerët. Edhe është një inkurajim i madh që në këtë moment unë mund të flas shumë Shqip me ju edhe nëse nuk kuptoni.
Okay, now what does all that mean?
So, I said that we have learned a lot of things in Albania. We've learned to speak in Albanian. We've learned to share our faith and the gospel with others. In fact, this is now not me translating, but I shared my first gospel tract with someone on a bus in Albania, and that was really cool. Big encouragement to me. Now, continuing my translation, it's a big encouragement to us that we can stand before you and be able to speak in Albanian like this and share with you what we've learnt, I guess.
Yep. Great, thanks, Lachlan. And I just encourage everyone to spend time to have a chat to them after the service, if you can. Thank you for listening to us for our mission team update and for your letters of support. And I'll just remind you that you can leave anything that you write in. There's a white tray up on the table up the back there, or if you're at home doing that, you can bring them down to the office and give them to Miley. Ray's going to just lead us in a church prayer, and then Samuel and his team are going to have another song, I believe. Thank you.
Father, we thank you for our church family here at this house. We thank you for giving here a spirit of generosity, a spirit of giving,
Samuel, would you like to sing one more song?
It's so amazing to see the stories, and it's a great message for everyone about the mission to Africa and Vanuatu. Changing lives and help them, and show encouragement. So we thank you for that, for the video. So maybe one day it's good to go to Solomon and share the blessing as well to Solomon Islands. So we're looking forward for that. Now as we come to sing a song, I think we just only sing 2 songs, one praise and one worship. We're going to sing a praise song first and the worship at the end. The song we're going to sing, the title is Alive, Alive Forevermore. Alive, 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 my Jesus is alive, alive forevermore, alive, alive. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah, my Jesus is alive. Sing alive, oh alive, alive, alive forevermore. My Jesus is alive, alive forevermore, alive, alive, alive forevermore. My Jesus is alive forever. Oh, sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My Jesus is alive forevermore. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. My Jesus is alive. My Jesus is alive. We're gonna sing our worship song, Unto the Lamb who sits on the throne. Unto the Lamb who sits on the throne, unto the Lamb who reigns forever, God bless this song for you and I in Jesus' name. Amen.